And Greenway Advisory Board is now in session.
Thank you.
Is there any general public requests? Any comments from the public? Nobody? Okay. We will move on then to Raleigh Youth Council.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Finn Chaldone, and I'm the chair of the Raleigh Youth Council. So on February 8th, we partnered with Tarboro Road Community Center and RPD to host a new event called Teens for Hope. Teens for Hope was a resource fair for those in the community facing food and housing insecurities. Leading up to this event, we hosted donation drives and were able to give participants hats, gloves, socks, hygiene items, hot hands, and a warm meal. In addition to tangible items, we were able to provide resources and information from the following vendors: Davie Presbyterian Church, Step Up Ministry, Salvation Army, Alliance Health, Job Corps, Wake Tech, Place at the Table, and Omega Sci-Fi. We are proud to say that we surpassed our initial goal of serving 50 people.
Good afternoon. I'm Miles Frazier. I'm the vice chair of the Raleigh Youth Council. As for our past meeting on February 10th, our meeting theme was financial literacy. We worked in groups to complete CFNC reality check activity that allowed us to learn how to budget for our ideal occupation. And on February 24th, we had a team building meeting where we played glow-in-the-dark pickleball and dodgeball at Tarboro Road Community Center. And on March 10th, our meeting was about public speaking. Each group was tasked with researching a certain aspect of college life at a university and then presenting it to the group as if they were the college orientation leaders. And for our upcoming community service, on Thursday, March 27th, we will host a park cleanup. So that'll be fun. And for our upcoming conference, which is coming up very soon, actually tomorrow, the 2025 SYC Team Building and Leadership Conference, it's been rescheduled to this weekend. 10 of our members will travel to Salisbury, North Carolina to participate in it. Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks, guys. Any questions for the Raleigh Youth Council? Ian?
Hey, I've been to two of your events, and they're really well organized, really well run. I was wondering, with donations, do you guys take cash donations, and are you set up for online donations as well?
I'm not sure if we're set up for online donations at this time, but I think if you come by the Teen Center in downtown Raleigh, you can possibly give cash donations.
And these are at the events?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Beverly?
I was wondering if you could tell us where your cleanup was and if you needed assistance with that on the 27th.
On the 27th, we aren't sure where our cleanup's going to be yet, but we're scheduling that right now.
Okay. That's fine. Thanks.
Okay. Anybody else? And is that Ken Hissler?
Nope, I was just
assisted?
going to help them with the question about making a donation. So if you would like to make a donation, we actually have an account for them. It's the RYC account. So working through Helene and our business group, if you wanted to make a donation, credit card or some other way to do that, we can work with you on that, Ian. Or if you have a group that wants to connect with, just work through myself or Helene and we can make that happen.
So knowing that is, there are online registries to get like employer matching. Is that available?
I'm going to say we can, but I can't tell you how we would do that right now.
Okay, I'll follow up with you later. Thank you.
That'd be great. Thank you.
We can do it, we just don't have a formal process to tell you how to do it. But we can make it happen.
We do have a donate button, so. Yeah.
All right.
Thank
And any other questions? Nope. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Up next, we have the What We Do series, and it's actually going to be covering the active adults segment of parks. That presentation is going to be done by Allie Crawford.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Parks Board, for having us. My name is William Clemens, Jr. I'm one of the recreation superintendents in the active adult program area, is one of the work groups that I support. So today, through their presentation, you'll learn about the robust services that we provide, such as our TRIP program, the different programs and services that we offer at our 3 active adult facilities, our Wake County Senior Games program, and many more. So I'll turn it over to Allie Crawford, who is our Active Adults Program Director.
Hey, evening, y'all. How are you? Okay, good. We're going to talk a little bit about the Active Adult Program today. So, who are we? What do we do? We serve everyone that is 50 plus within the Raleigh community, and we offer recreation and leisure services to those folks. We do that via 2 active adult centers and 1 neighborhood center. So our 2 active adult centers are the 5 Point Center for Active Adults and the Ann Gordon Center for Active Adults. Our neighborhood center is the Walnut Terrace Center. We don't do it just in those 3, though. We partner with both city-owned and non-city-owned agencies and locations to be able to spread the programs and services that we offer to ensure that we really get all the way across the city. Oh man, Brian, I'm sorry we lost your picture. I don't do this alone, though. I do it with a whole team of people. We have 6 total on our staff. Again, my name is Allie Crawford. I'm the program director, so I oversee this ragtag team of people who make it come together. I am going to, I guess, just briefly introduce you all verbally. So this is Carmen Rayfield. She's our program manager, so she oversees the Walnut Terrace Center. She also oversees our TRIP program, our Golden Years program, our SOAR program. Am I missing anything? Perfect. Brian Philpott, you can't see him there, but the great part is you can see him right here. He's right behind me. He's the center director for Ann Gordon Center for Active Adults, and that is at the top of the Millbrook Exchange Plaza. Oh, and I forgot to say, so I've been here going on 2 years in 2 weeks, and Carmen's been here for 23 years with the city. Brian's been on for over 26 years with the city. Pictured, well, half pictured here, but not here with us tonight, are our staff from the 5 Point Center. That's Jimmy Overton. He's our center director. He's been with the city for 17 years, but has just crossed into the threshold of active adult programs over the past 3. And our latest person to join the squad is Tawny Gong. She's our assistant center director, and she's coming up on 1 year in July. We also have a brand new permanent part-time staff that's very exciting. Her name is Denise Hernandez, and she just started with us on Monday. So what do we offer? A variety of activities and programs, everything from fitness classes to social events, clubs, and educational opportunities. We even go places. We have a full travel program. And I think it's important to note that while a lot of what we do is geared towards those that are 50 and up, anybody 18 and up can come participate in our programs and classes. We are truly adult services. So I just want to highlight a couple of really cool facts that I think are really important and boast to what we do. In the last fiscal year, we offered over 1,000 classes, enrolled almost 15,000 participants, had a total of 511 participants that were on wait list, and we offered multiple courses throughout not only the morning and the afternoon, but the evenings and the weekends as well as we continue to expand our program development. I think it speaks volumes to not only the high output that we put out to try to meet the need, but the high demand and desire to want to be a part of our classes and programs. We don't do it by ourselves, though. Our community partners are absolutely integral into what we do. And so we have some of our OG partners like the OLLI program with NC State and Resources for Seniors that help to offer both our educational classes and our service-based opportunities. But then we have new, bigger entities that have wanted to partner with us like Humana, AARP, and Oak Street Health. By doing these partnerships, we've been able to expand into special event style programming, and we've been able to offer those at either low to no cost. We've started to really get into the dynamic of smaller but more impactful partnerships as well. So Enswell is actually an aquamation facility based out of Hillsborough, North Carolina. They are one of 3 across the state and one of only a handful across the nation. And they talk about alternative burial and alternative end-of-life services. They've come in, they've done different education classes, and I'm actually excited to say we're hosting a death cafe over at 5 Points in June with them. We have Meals on Wheels of Wake County that's out of the 5 Point Center. They serve hot, nutritious meals to seniors Monday through Friday every week. We've even been able to expand into cultural programming, so we've partnered with Japan American Society of North Carolina to start to explore Japanese culture. We partner with Carolina Aging Alliance. That's an LGBTQ group that's specifically tailored towards seniors, which is almost like a population that's just, it's never touched, it's never looked at. And so we've been able to expand into not only events, but social clubs and outings with them. And then one of our newer partners is Dementia Capable Cares, and so we've started to explore with them not only education around dementia, but how can you find support services in your area when you are caring for or working with a loved one who might be experiencing this. It's not just the external that are important, it's our internal partners as well. So we partner with groups like our Cultural Outreach and Enrichment program, the teen program, our community centers, and even housing in neighborhoods to be able to expand our reach for our program offerings. We were going to play a game with you, but word on the street is we're short on time. So unfortunately, we're going to skip our trivia moment, but I'm going to tell you the question was geared towards Ann Gordon Center and how many people do you think are in the largest active adult club that we have? Brian's going to talk about Ann Gordon, and he's going to tell you the answer.
Hello, Brian Philpott. I am the facility manager at the Ann Gordon Center for Active Adults in the Millbrook Exchange Park in North Raleigh. Our center has been open for about 12 years. We consider it our medium-sized active adult center. We have a main room that's about 1,800 square feet that we can divide in half and run 2 programs at a time. We also have a small classroom that is about 300 feet, and that's used primarily for art, educational, and smaller social activities. The building also has a kitchen, and a lobby, and then a lending library with books and puzzles. Our program highlights, last year we offered over 520 programs, including one-day and multi-day classes and monthly sessions, and had nearly 7,000 registrations. Our types of classes that we offer about 3 art classes a week, including a knitting group. We offer about 3 computer and technology classes a week, and those are run in conjunction with another full-time staff, Tommy Hodges, he's our digital inclusion manager. So he and his staff run the classes, basic computer classes, photo editing, and other similar things. And we have 1 to 2 educational classes a week, usually with our partner resources for seniors and also our own contacts. We offer health-related, legal, financial, Medicaid, all free educational seminars. We also have the Senior Health Insurance Information Program, which is run through the North Carolina Department of Insurance, where individuals can get a free one-on-one consultation about Medicare services, especially during open enrollment period. Our main thing is fitness classes. We run about 24 fitness classes a week, every week, including yoga, tai chi, aerobics, and we have about 10 classes that remain consistently full throughout the year. Social programs, about 8 a week, including like open play cards and game time, bingo, and trivia and things like that. And then one of our biggest programs is our Millbrook 55 Plus Golden Years Club. We have about 115 members, usually 70 to 75 that show up on a weekly basis, and they play cards and games together, and they do their own special events and trips and all this and other additional things that all the Golden Years Clubs do. Right. Thank you.
Ann Gordon is always busy. I don't know if anyone's ever been over there, but it doesn't matter what time of day you go over there, they're pretty much packed. So again, don't have time for trivia, but I do want to tell you, this leans into rentals, all right? And I'm going to talk about the next facility that is one of our highest rental outputs, and that's the 5 Points Center for Active Adults. Jimmy's not able to be here tonight, so I'm going to talk about it for him. It's in the heart of the 5 Points neighborhood, again, opened about 12 years ago, right around the same time as Ann Gordon. It's our largest facility. We boast over 20,000 square feet, and it's managed by those 2 full-time staff. It's got a ballroom that can be divided into 3 different spaces, an aerobics studio, multiple classrooms, a kitchen, a lending library, an art studio, a fitness studio, and a tech lab. We have a lot to offer. In last fiscal year, they offered 549 programs, had over 7,000 registrations, and they offered 1,337 hours of rentals. And it's important to note that 360 of those hours were from internal use. So everything from the police department to housing in neighborhoods to even internally hosting summer camps and trainings. They offer a lot of the same types of programs that Ann Gordon has to offer, but again, we started to expand into some unique programming. So we're having that Death Cafe that's happening in June. We've hosted those Japanese cultural programs. We have a soul lion dance that we offer for free via a volunteer instructor, and many, many more. So we're very excited to be able to continue to expand and really fill that 20,000 square foot of space up. Let's talk about the Walnut Terrace Center for Active Adults. Carmen?
Good evening. I'm Carmen Rayfield, and I actually wear two hats. So I'm the Recreation Program Manager and as well as the Walnut Terrace Center Director. I'm going to start with the Walnut Terrace Center. We are a small but unique facility opening in 2016 in partnership with Raleigh Housing Authority. We are located within the neighborhood, and we serve Southeast Raleigh. We have 3 dedicated spaces that hold about 15 patrons each. And our office staff are the ones that teach our classes. With this, as well as our donated items that we get, we are able to keep our classes either free or almost free. Last year, our highlights is that we offered 92 individual day programs, classes, and served about 295 individuals. We have unique classes that we offer, things like Write Your Story, Urban Gardening, Eat Smart, Move More, both in English and in Spanish, as well as we do have a card making to lift spirits, which then we make the cards and then we donate them to the Meals on Wheels. My second hat that I wear is the Recreation Program Manager, and I am in charge of our travel program. So we offer, I'm responsible for developing the trips, planning the trips, and then leading and escorting them. We offer a variety of travel opportunities for older adults, and we plan these programs based on their abilities. Now, anyone can take our trips. We don't just gear for Raleigh residents, anyone. We have people that travel with us from California, Utah, just all over. So we start off with the Read and Watch. That is a book club for individuals that don't want to have a venture in a chair. Then we have our Read and Go program. This is very popular. It's a book club with a twist. So it's a book club with travel. Read a book based in North Carolina, and then we have a book discussion. And with the author's help, we plan a trip and go on that trip based on the book. It's so popular now that we have authors reaching out to us to do their book. We offer day trips, at least 10 day trips a year. Last year, that are within a 2-hour period of Raleigh. We did the Duke Leamer Center, which was so popular, we ended up offering 2 different dates, serving 65 older adults. And then we did Fort Bragg, honoring our veterans, and we had about 31 participants. This year, we're offering a new series called In Your Backyard, discovering the behind-the-scenes workings of Raleigh, the city of Raleigh. And then we'll also be going to the Wilson Whirligig, several other locations. We also offer overnight trips. We offer about 3 domestic trips a year and 1 international. Last year, we offered a Yellowstone Mount Rushmore trip, 7 days. It was so popular that we ended up offering 2 trips, serving 64 older adults. And then we also did a 11-day Alaska sea and land cruise, and it was so popular that we had a wait list, so we offered it again this year, and from that we served 62 older adults. This year we'll also be doing Utah National Parks trip, 7 days, serving 33 adults, and we have a wait list. And then we'll be going to Athens and the Greek Isles, and the Greek Islands for 9 days. And currently we have 28 participants, and we're still growing with that. We have a unique program called the Social Active Outdoor Recreation, where we partner with our recreation outdoor program, and it's called SOAR, and we're just now getting back up and running with that since the pandemic. Past trips that we did was indoor skydiving, whitewater rafting, and hiking. This year, we're going to offer a day hike, and then with the partnership with the nature program, we are going to offer a day on the lake at Lake Johnson and highlight the different water activities that we do. And then the final thing that we offer is our Golden Years clubs. So these are clubs that are geared towards 50 and older. It is the only thing that we do age limit, so you have to be 50 and older. And these clubs focus on social activities, education, speakers, trips, games, things like that throughout the city of Raleigh. They meet in locations like community centers, church groups, or senior living facilities. We currently have 34 active clubs And we have, serves about 1,250 older adults. We have 2 new pending clubs coming on, and then 3 open houses to start 3 new clubs. And one of the benefits that they get is they get to participate in the Golden Year Celebration, which has been for 68 years partnership with the Capital Broadcast Company and WRAL. You may have seen it. It's hosted on Christmas Day. And last year, last year, we had about 700 of our older adults that come in and celebrate that with us.
All right, so we're busy. I know it's a lot of information to just kind of dump at you, but we want to make sure that we really highlight everything that we do. Last thing that we'll talk about is the other hat that we all kind of end up wearing, and that's Wake County Senior Games. So if you didn't know it, now you know. Raleigh Parks is the chair of the chair seat for that steering committee. We've now partnered with 8 other local municipalities across Wake County, and we host events from April 1st to May 31st across 13 different locations in Wake County. We're fully self-funded, and that's via a partnership with the City of Oaks Foundation, where we take in sponsorships, user fees, and we also receive donations as well. We offer over 50 unique events across 22 sports, and that also includes our silver arts categories. And new this year, we've expanded to offer bocce, disc golf, mini golf, a 10K road race, and 2D/3D mixed media art with the Silver Arts program. Registration is growing, so in 2023, we had 347 participants. Last year, we had 476, and with the close of registration this season, I'm very proud to brag that we hit 551 registrations this season, which is the largest we've had in a decade. But registration is not the only thing that grows. Our volunteerism is very strong with this program. We recruit approximately 110 volunteers each season, and that's a mix of both staff with our city and other municipalities and community members of all varying ages. So again, a lot of information to throw at you all today, but we wanted to just give you a little taster. Come join us, come check it out, come see what we have to offer. We'll be happy to host you at one of our sites. What questions do you have?
Any questions for the group?
Hey, on the senior games, did you say the registration is closed?
Yes, so registration is open every year from February 1st to roughly March 1st, March 2nd, give or take.
Thank you. And then on the, more curious on the international trips, that looks really awesome. Is it mostly Raleigh residents that are participating?
I would say it's a large majority of Raleigh residents, but the beautiful thing is we're not limited. I've seen Carmen coordinate with the travel companies to have folks from Texas and California and out in the Midwest meet us where we are, go with us on this incredible adventure, and then go back home and tell all their friends and family about it. I've seen her talk to people in the airport and tell them what we're doing, and then all of a sudden there's questions and inquiries.
And so those people that are coming from other states are people, family members. So like if an older adult is traveling and they want their kids to go with them, then that's how so it's kind of a communication with that.
Okay,
connection.
thank you.
Steve?
It's a great presentation, thanks. When we're talking about the total participants is 14,650, is that total participants? Is that not unique participants? That's just, people are totally participating?
Yeah, that's based on registration numbers, and so you may have some duplicate here and there, but for the most part, that's going to be across the gambit. So that's not just going to be within the 3 facilities, right? That's expanding into community centers. It's expanding into maybe we're going off-site to Poland Park to host a program. And so it's going to have some variety in there, yeah.
Great, thank you.
Kate?
It was a great presentation, thank you. I was wondering how you get ideas for program ideas.
Great question. Yeah, so a lot of it is just keeping up with trends, right? Looking and viewing and seeing what's going on. But these guys do an incredible job of being tapped in to the people that they're serving. And so they're listening to conversations. Their participants feel wholly comfortable to come, sometimes not even knock on the door and say, I want to see this program, and they make it come to fruition. So it's very much being tapped in and in-tuned while staying abreast to what the latest, greatest trends are, what are some of the things that they're facing. Brian is working with the Secretary of State's office to offer an advanced directives class and highlight that service that they're doing. And so a lot of times now we've gotten to a point where they're coming to us and letting us know what they want or what's out there.
Any other questions for Ally and her team? Gregory?
So how do individuals reach out to volunteer to work with you guys with your tremendously busy schedule, and/or how do they find out about the programs themselves?
Great question. I answer this daily. So the website is our hub. That is going to be the living, breathing. In fact, they just updated it on Monday. And so contact information, our brochure, the different trips that Carmen is offering, the latest and greatest updates for the Golden Years clubs. All of that is going to be on our website for our active adult program. And then for Wake County Senior Games, I just built a brand new website. And so I'm very proud of it. It's very squeaky and new. So go check it out. Everything is loaded on there as well. If you're not tech savvy and a computer's just like not your thing, you want to have that human to human contact, these guys are really good about being available, whether it be via phone call, via email, or just honestly popping up.
What is that website?
That's a good question. So if you go to the Raleigh Parks website, or honestly what I tell people is Google Raleigh Parks Active Adults, and we're the first thing that pops up on Google. For Wake County Senior Games, same thing, or I have it memorized at this point, it's wcseniorgames.com.
Thank you.
Kara?
That was great. I loved everything you guys shared. I'm just curious, who is or was Ann Gordon?
Ooh. Take it.
The OG will answer that one. So Ann Gordon was the one of the original people that started the, back then it was the senior program, so in the 1960s, and she was the director. And so that's why it was named after her.
Thank you.
And she was with the city of Raleigh, I think, at least 25, 30 years.
Yeah, I was going to say about 30 years.
Yeah.
She started the program and grew it over 3 decades.
In the lobby or the front entranceway to the Ann Gordon Center, there's actually a lot of her plaques and awards that she received over the years, and there's a little bit of a bio about her available for people to
Thank
see.
you. I've always wondered who she was, so thank you.
All right, any other questions? Beverly?
I have 2 questions, and one is similar to what I asked the other end of the spectrum, the Raleigh Youth Council. They were talking about having a cleanup, and I wondered, do you offer opportunity? You offer so many opportunities for people to learn and benefit. Do you have opportunities also for them to give back?
To give back, yeah, absolutely. So that volunteerism, right, is a critical component. And so, look, Senior Games is a great example of that. We're actually actively, currently looking for volunteers for Wake County Senior Games. I want to say off the top of my head, we have about 10 more opportunities that are still looking for spaces. It's a great way to just get to know other folks in the area that have that kind of like mind. And it's also great to see different parts of the county. We are as far north as Knightdale and as far south as Fuquay-Varina now, as far west as Morrisville, and we're even creeping over into Johnson County a little bit.
Cool. And then one other question. So both the 5 Point Center and the Ann Gordon Center are located in North Raleigh, and we have the Walnut Creek Center in South Raleigh. But are there any plans to include an active adults program anyplace else in the southern part of the city?
I have my answer.
Please do. So I'll introduce, but I do want Ally to, we did a study, and it really landed at those locations with recommendations. I believe it was Worthdale. There was another location that has been unfunded for 12 years.
But we don't let that stop us, right? So we might not have a brick and mortar, but we have over 20 community centers. We have other facilities within other divisions and departments within the city. And so just because we don't have walls doesn't mean we're not going to be able to try to program in those spaces.
And that is a good segue. Nationally, it's intergenerational centers. So you want older adults and youth kind of commingling, co-programming together. The model of like specific active adults, I want to say is dated, but we want to encourage intergenerational.
All right, any other questions? Doug?
Are there buses to each of the centers?
So we actually work hand in hand with transportation. So transportation is a very, it's an in-depth network. It's very difficult to kind of learn and understand. And so we've actually had transportation come out and do clinics and teach folks what the bus schedule looks like, what does the route look like for potentially getting from their home to one of our centers, and then they do a ride-along to get comfortable being in the bus and getting used to what that kind of scenario looks like.
I might add, getting comfortable with the bus is very important. I missed 2 buses on the way here tonight. First, while I was looking at, see when it was coming, and it went by. And the second one, after I got through ranting, the second one went by. So cut out the second rant and you can catch a bus here.
There you go.
Both of, it's a great question, Doug. When we looked at where they should be located, they are on a bus line. That was one of the criteria, and a stop to be located adjacent to it.
Seems like the one I go by, the active adult on Noble Road.
Yes.
5 Points.
Five Point is on sort of a Noble.
There's one that's right there on the corner
the
of the
corner.
intersection. Yep.
April?
Yes. Do you all have the letter, if you all had teens or teen groups volunteer so they can get those hours?
We are happy to sign off on letters. If that means that we're going to have both volunteers and it's going to be an intergenerational moment, more than happy to help support that.
No, I'm sorry, let me clarify. Do you all have the letter already on the letterhead? A lot of the teens have to have the letter from the place they're volunteering.
Oh, I see.
Not providing a letter. A lot of the places, the letter has the letterhead and all of the official things because the teens are so tech savvy now.
Oh, very,
So we
yes.
need to get that from the place where they're volunteering first. Because I know of some groups that would be great, like the Y Achievers.
Yeah, that would be
looking for
great
some
too.
opportunities.
We're really starting to get into that volunteerism model and getting that intergenerational pool to come in. So that's something we can definitely look at developing as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Gregory?
So this is back to your point. You said there's been a location proposed for Worthdale for an active
So
adult
when,
center for
actually, that's a.
12 years, right?
Yeah. We actually had one location, we had 5 locations proposed, and we had funding for 1. And seniors were like, no, we need 2. So we built, it was supposed to be 25,000 square foot senior center. We built a 5, and we built a 20, and then we partnered with the Raleigh Housing Authority. The others, Gregory, have remained unfunded. That's correct. So really, it started with 1. Council said split it in 2. We were able to achieve 2. Through a partnership, we got the 3rd, but the other remaining locations are unfunded. And I would say we'd have to go through the whole analysis again, because when we did that, it was 15 years ago, and where pockets and seniors live, we would probably revisit where those remaining locations are. Does that answer your question? Okay.
All right. Beverly again?
The Wade Edwards Center used to offer young people, students, teaching the technology for older adults. And have you all tried that model as well?
So we've actually been able to partner with our teen program during summer camp to bring in some of those opportunities. And so they may not necessarily just be tech-based. We've had them come in and teach arts and craft classes. We've done cooking classes and nutritional classes and just having that social hour. So yes, it might not be as structured and rigid as a 6-week program where they're coming in, but we're implanting it wherever we can find the opportunity. And I want to just say, too, it's not just teens. We just hosted an intergenerational program on Monday called Lucky Leprechauns, and it's grandparents and their grandkids coming out and just doing this kind of event-style station rotation type of program. So I have a deep love for intergenerational programming, so we're definitely going to continue down that route.
Thank you so much.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Allie and team.
Thank you.
This was great. Okay. And then I think our agenda is slightly changing because do we have Kate Pierce tonight? Oh, we do. Okay. Oh, sorry. You've been hiding back here. I was looking in the crowd. And,
I'm doubling
okay.
as your IT support tonight.
Thank you very much. Very talented. All right. We have a Dix Park update from Kate Pierce.
Great. You know, as Carmen's leaving, I thought I had one of the best jobs in the department, but I think Carmen might have one of the best jobs in the department. So if you ever need help, Carmen, I've got my passport ready. It's great seeing everyone tonight. This time last month, I think I was sledding down a hill at Dix Park, or maybe we all were. So it's good to see all of you tonight. I did want to provide just a brief update on all of our ongoing projects. There's a lot going on at the park. 2025 is a big year for us, starting with the Gibson Play Plaza. So I think most folks know that the Gibson Play Plaza is under construction. A lot of you joined us on a tour. We are very close to the end. We've got a little bit of work left to do. We are still on track for a spring opening. It will probably be late spring. And this group will be invited to a couple of sneak peek openings. So stay tuned for your save the date for that. But we are close to announcing dates to the community as well as to invited groups for a sneak peek. I will say if anyone wants to come out and just walk the site with me, happy to do that. It's amazing to see the daily progress of the construction project. And it's also amazing to see the work of 10 years coming to fruition with something actually coming out of the ground. So it's on track. We're getting there. We're very close. And stay tuned. Check your inboxes for invitations to those sneak peek and grand opening events. I believe last week or last month, my colleague Dean Perry gave an update on the Rocky Branch Enhancement Project to the Greenways Committee. Just wanted to bring that to this group. We are finalizing the scope for the design of the first portion of the creek that we will renovate in the park. That section is located between Boylan Avenue and South Saunders Lake Wheeler Road. The reason this section was selected is it really is our gateway to downtown. It is proximate to the Gibson Play Plaza improvements. There's a lot of stormwater benefits to be gained. So this work we are scoping now will be under contract hopefully in April, then look to construction when funding is available in late 26, early 27. The interesting thing about this one is, so we're trying to complete sections of the park. So you notice on the screen, we've got the Gibson Play Plaza that will open this spring. The idea is that we've actually included the entire piece between the creek and the Gibson Play Plaza called the Grove. And there will be a lot of stormwater improvements there to basically finish this edge of the park. So this work will all be part of this design project. Schematic design kicking off this year, construction documents complete next year, and then if everyone does their job on the fundraising side, getting going on construction late 26, early 27. This project, I would say between this and all the work that we need to do with buildings, are the two of our biggest priorities for the next building of the park after the Gibson Play Plaza. On to buildings. We are in the process of demolition. So if you've driven by the park lately, we have taken down our first large building. It's called the Scott Building. It's on the corner of Barber Drive and Umstead. And it's very satisfying to see a building come down. And that will just be turned into green space. Shortly later this month and early next month, we will start demolition of the cottages, which we did test for a lot of different uses, but because of the hazardous materials, we did decide to remove these. It's about 60,000 square feet of impervious surface that will be removed. This will be turned back into green space, and actually working with the Conservancy's artists and residents, there's going to be a wilding of this space with a lot of native grass to do some really cool things like wildflower patches in the shape of the old footprints of the cottage, just to speak to the memory of this place. The other big move is that we are looking probably early 26 to demolish the majority of buildings on the western side of the campus. Obviously, this will be after DHHS relocates to their new facility, but we'll be taking down about 150,000 square feet of impervious surface, turning all of this into park space, pending DHHS's relocation. So all of the buildings, except for the Flower Cottage, if you're familiar with the park, will be coming down on the western campus. And the entire vision, consistent with the master plan, is that this is really the escape to nature in the park itself. So that is a big amount of work ahead of us later this year and early 26. All of this has been kind of memorialized in what we're calling the 10-year implementation plan. And that plan really is a document to help guide both the city and the Conservancy on what the priorities for the park are moving forward. The Dix Leadership Committee requested a implementation plan to realize the vision of the master plan and to acknowledge all of the plans that have been completed to date and how those roll into the evolution of the park's development. So from the master plan, the building and site analysis, the Rocky Branch feasibility study, and the cultural interpretation plan, what are our new sets of priorities and what's our roadmap for getting the work done? The 10-year plan, the master plan and those subsequent studies tell us what to do, but the 10-year plan really tells us how to do it, when to do it, and who should be leading specific efforts between the city and the Conservancy. We will circulate that plan document to you because it has been approved by council, but it does include updated project phasing, a phased funding strategy that we'll work on this year, potentially updates to our memorandum of agreement between the city and the Conservancy to outline new roles and responsibilities between both organizations, and then planning for DHHS's transition. We have been notified that DHHS may transition off the property sooner than expected. While that's great from an operational perspective, we're not going to have a lot of employee park visitor conflicts. From a operations and management perspective, we weren't expecting to take over 1 million square feet of buildings, legacy infrastructure systems with very high price tags so soon. So we are in the midst of planning for that. It's also why we're having a very aggressive demolition plan so that we take those buildings off the record and we're not paying for the maintenance and upkeep of old buildings and old infrastructure systems. So that is kind of where we are with DHHS transition planning. Included in that, I will note, are two really important studies that we're currently in scope development. One is an infrastructure master plan. So all of the infrastructure systems at the park were the youngest ones were renovated in 1973. So they're all old infrastructure systems that we need to figure out how to decommission to then rebuild new infrastructure to support park development, not a hospital campus. And then the Dix Park Conservancy is leading a project to talk about the adaptive reuse and redevelopment of those buildings. This will be a partnership between the city and the Conservancy, but it's just being led by the Conservancy as the city's partner to think about what all of those buildings that remain, what should those be, and how do we actually take those to market and make them appealing to private sector investors who meet our criteria to renovate those buildings for park benefit and public benefit future uses. So all of this work, we were going to start this year, but now that DHHS transition has moved up, all of these studies are moving up as well. So it is a busy year for us, but also exciting given all of the things that are happening in 2025. I'll stop there. The only other thing I'll mention is that the Dreamville build started yesterday. Dreamville will have its festival here the first weekend in April. We'll make sure this table gets the sneak peek invite for the Dreamville walkthrough on Friday, the first Friday in April, April 4th, 3rd, I don't know. Okay, the first Friday in April, we'll make sure this group gets that invite, but the Dreamville build has started. The park gets extremely busy between the construction projects and the Dreamville build. There is signage everywhere, but if y'all hear any feedback, please let us know because we're trying to mitigate issues between park visitors and all of the things going on.
Is Rocky Branch Greenway still accessible during the build-out?
Yes. Yep. Thank you. Rocky Branch Greenway will be accessible up until, it's even accessible during festival weekend, but there will just be a ton of people on it coming from downtown to the park.
Yeah, and just a reminder for folks that haven't heard, this is the last Dreamville that's going to happen. So, thank you, Kate. Are there any questions for Kate?
Yeah.
Bob?
As far as east and west are concerned within the park, is the railroad generally the marking line?
Yes, thank you for asking. Yeah, when I refer to the western section of the park, I am referring to the part, the railroad basically divides the park in half. The western part is where the flower cottage is, the big field, the sunflower field, the dog park, and it is more our nature escape, so that's where we'll be starting all the demolition. It gets a little more complicated on the eastern side because all the buildings are daisy chained and we have to figure all that out, but yes, thank you for that clarifying question.
Kate?
Well, I think You just said something that's related to what I was going to ask. I wondered how defined it is about what your plans are for what buildings you're going to get rid of and which ones you're planning to save.
So we have done, so there are two guiding documents on that. There's the master plan, and then the master plan was refined by the 2023 building and site analysis that did add a couple additional buildings to the demolition list. What we're learning the hard way is that the adaptive reuses of these buildings is very expensive. So we went through a design process for the adaptive reuse of a building for park use, and it came in kind of 3 times what we were expecting it to cost. And so we're going to have to make some tough decisions as a city and a partnership about what buildings are really the priorities for adaptive reuse and what buildings should be demolished and turned back into park space. But we do have some guiding documents that we can provide to this group. We've got a couple of maps that show it pretty clearly.
All right. Other questions for Ian?
Hey, so thank you for that. I'd be in trouble if I didn't ask if kids can come to the sneak peek preview
For Dreamville, I think that's...
No, for the Gibson Play Plaza.
Oh, for the Gibson Play Plaza. Yes, so what we will do is y'all will get an invite and feel free to RSVP for however many folks you'd like. I believe your daughter was one of the first children to be on the Play Plaza site, and now she can actually try the slides. So yes, kids can come.
Okay, thank you. And then it was in the news a couple years ago with Durham Parks finding lead in the ground. Has there been any sort of like soil sampling around the plaza or around the park in general?
Yeah, so when we purchased the property, before I was hired and Stephen was leading this, we did actually do a full phase 1 through 4 environmental site assessment. There were some areas that we had to close out. My first week on the job, I was in a huge hole, which was a coal mine ash, or a coal ash pit. And so we have closed out all of the areas of concern that were identified there. Project by project, we retest everything to make sure we're under the levels that are acceptable by the state, and we have kind of a risk calculator for the entire site. So we have that original study, but we do project by project all the geotech and all the testing to make sure we're doing right by the folks that are going to be on that site.
Thank you.
Yep.
Right.
I'm sure we're going to find stuff. Yeah.
Beverly?
My question, I can't believe Kate didn't ask this, is about trees on the park. And one of the signature pieces of the property right now today is the size of the trees. And yet oak trees don't typically grow with as much space around them as these trees have. And so I think you've heard me say this before. I think we need to be planting young oaks near our old oaks so that we have a successive generation, so that we don't have some kind of terrible storm, as we've been known to have, that wipes out a lot of the oak trees at Dix Park. And I mean, not that what bad storm would knock out young and old, but we need to be planning for that succession level, and that's something that can happen both in the areas of demolition, which I'm sure you're already planning for, but in the places like the Grove and other places where we need to see young trees to fostered along, because right now all those acorns get cleaned up, mowed over, blown away, and they're not reseeding. And so we have to be real intentional to have that happen.
Yeah, we need to put that, it's on a list. It's probably fallen far, but yes, we need to bring that back up.
All right, Bob?
I'm certainly not an expert on protecting trees, but before I asked that if we had looked at some of the trees around the House of Many Porches that are really colossal signature trees, and make sure we're protecting those from things like lightning strikes. And I realize there's a cost with that, but some of those trees are irreplaceable.
Yeah.
And if we can have someone assess if we can protect them.
Yeah, we went through a pretty rigorous assessment of all the trees within Play Plaza and all those pecan trees right around the House of Many Porches. A lot of them needed some help, so we did do a lot of pruning, and I'm going to make up things because Zach's not here, but like root invigoration and those type of things to prolong their lives. We do have a couple of lightning detection and lightning rod devices on the taller things around the park, but not, so I'll bring that back up with Zach about lightning. We haven't talked about it specific to the trees.
I don't know why I keep thinking of that, but when I look at those trees,
Yeah.
I think about the old days when you used to run a copper cable up the tree, you know, and if you can direct that to the ground, because what happens when lightning hits a tree is it basically boils the sap in the tree and it explodes. So the objective is to get it around that.
Right, we don't want exploding trees, yeah. But we'll talk to urban forestry about some of the strategies. We have put lightning rods on the tall light posts to help ground all of that, but that's a good
It's
question.
old-fashioned, but they're really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Doug?
How can this group stay in good touch with what's going on, particularly with the different criteria you have for things? You have really good ones. I've seen a couple of them. But I'm sure from this group we'll have some questions about them. We're going to be making decisions on what to take in, what houses, buildings to keep and what to get rid of. And I know we'll hear from my friend Myrick Howard about making that list bigger and other people having a different view. And we've done an excellent job of always having criteria.
Yeah.
And it would be helpful, I think, to us to know what the criteria are on that, what the criteria are on trees, because there'll be some tree places that are really suitable, and there'll be other places, like you told me a year ago, in the big field where there's a big plan for a prairie there, and it might not be able to keep the large, or now replace the large oaks that go along Biggs Drive, that kind of thing. You know better, because you've dealt with me a long time, what I'm trying to ask.
Right, yeah.
It'd be good to have some advanced knowledge of the mazes you're going through for us to be informed about what you're dealing with, and we can be responsive.
Yeah, I think one of the things is more regular updates to this group, and then also through Chris and others' participation in leadership committee. But because I think the two things on the horizon are all of the building work, we can make sure we have a specific discussion just on that. And then I think, the way we do trees and environmental issues really is project by project.
No surprise, but I have my own list. Trees, buildings, parking.
View sheds.
View sheds.
Yep.
of course,
What else?
and vehicle circulation in the park,
Yep.
because now we finally recognized two parts, in the east part and the west. We've recognized, and thank you, Beverly. We finally recognized, well, we've recognized for a long time, two parts, and they'll have different criteria, I think,
Right.
for them.
Yeah, yep.
All right, any other questions for Kate? One here? Okay, thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have a presentation by Lauren Cabrich, and it's about the Forestville Road Park Situation Assessment.
Let me go fix it over there.
Thank you, Kate, for being our IT tonight. Beautiful. All right, thanks, Kate. Good evening, everyone. For those of you who I haven't met, my name's Lauren Cabrick. I'm a park planner with Raleigh Parks, and I'm going to be the project manager of an exciting new master plan for the Forestville Road Park. Slightly smaller in scale than Dick's Park that you just heard about, but very interesting nonetheless. So tonight, I'm gonna, at a high level, be talking through kind of three different buckets of things. I'm gonna give a little bit of overview of the project itself, share some highlights of the situation assessment, which is included with the board docs item for tonight, and also talk about the community advisory group that we have slated for this project. So, at a high level, Forestville Road Park property is located here where the star is on your screen. It's about 25 acres located in far northeast Raleigh, just inside the extraterritorial jurisdiction for Raleigh, so basically in Knightdale. And there's several unique things about this project. One, it's not one of the 2022 Parks Bond projects. We're finally touching some other things again. And a very cool aspect about this project is it's going to be handled entirely in-house. So we are not going to be hiring a consultant team to work on this master plan. We're going to be using all of our in-house expertise. So on your screen here, you can see some of our core team members. I myself will be the project manager, handling all of the planning aspects of this master plan process. Kimberly Saran, who is a licensed landscape architect in our capital projects group, will be handling a lot of the design work associated with this project. Mr. Douglas Porter in our Historic Resources and Museums Advisory Group is going to be acting as the site historian of sorts. You'll hear later on there's some unique history associated with this piece of property. And of course, we'll be working with a dedicated design resource team as well, which is a group of subject matter experts that represent both internal to Raleigh Parks Department, but also our other groups within the city. So folks from stormwater, transportation, planning, all of that good stuff. Another interesting aspect of this project is we have a development agreement in place with Capital Properties and Pippin Properties. So you can kind of see on the image on your screen here, this property outlined in red that abuts the Forestville Road Park property. Our team was able to negotiate during the rezoning process for what will become a residential development with townhomes, a $600,000 lump sum contribution that can be used for initial stages of this park project, so help covering the cost of master planning, site stabilization, early stages of schematic design, because this developer realizes, what a big amenity having this park so close to their residents will be, and so they wanted to help contribute to the development of it. So now I'm going to change gears a little bit, hit some of the highlights of the situation assessment for this park. So some of you are quite familiar, but situation assessments are something that we often do as kind of a pre-planning document when we have a new park being developed or a big redevelopment process. It really helps ground us in the context around the project, so looking at any historical and cultural aspects, getting familiar with the community around a park, and any potential issues, concerns, ideas that we know are going to be heavily involved in the project. And it's also a great opportunity for us to start planning for the community engagement that will be done, particularly identifying the stakeholders and prospective members of the community advisory group. So again, looking at the property here, it is located quite near the intersection of Buffalo Road and Forestville Road. If that's a familiar location for some of y'all, there's a Publix coming in this area. Lots of people are really excited about that. Some people not so excited about it. But as I mentioned, this is a 25-acre property. You can see here it's completely undeveloped currently. It's predominantly wooded. But interestingly, if you zoom out just a bit, you can see all of the properties that are shown in red, or this pinky color here, are developments that are either in progress or recently approved within 1 mile of this park. So this area of Northeast Raleigh is growing very rapidly, and as you can probably expect, we're going to see a great increase in the density in this area and a great increase in the number of prospective park users. Just from the plans that we have been able to see in this area, we know that we're going to have over 1,800 new residential units. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on this relatively small piece of park space. Another interesting thing to mention, there is a proposed street plan or a proposed street in the city's street plan that runs along the northern boundary of this property to help improve circuity in the area. That is something that will be explored further in the master planning process. Now, if we look at the demographics within a 5-minute drive shed of the area of the park, which is one of our kind of standard level of service metrics that we look at, a couple things jump out. One is that the median household income in this area is significantly higher than the average for the city of Raleigh as a whole. If we're looking at race and ethnicity, it's generally reflective of city averages. But when you look at age, there is quite a distinct difference than the city of Raleigh as a whole. The 20 to 35 age range is significantly lower than the city average, whereas typically for the city of Raleigh, that's one of our highest age ranges. And I also want to mention there is some very specific historic context with this property. We know that this 25-acre piece of land was once part of a 600-acre plantation that was owned by the Upchurch family, Kearney Upchurch in particular. Looking back at census records and slave schedules, we do know that at least 20 enslaved persons were held in bondage at this plantation. And we know that there are some opportunities or interesting points on this site, both with existing structures on the site and also potential hotspots for archaeological materials. So looking here, we've got a number of existing structures remaining on the site, some of which, including the workshop, the stable, there's a playhouse. We know they are relatively newer, built in the 1960s or 70s. The log cabin that you see in the middle here is of potential historic interest. It potentially has ties to the plantation era history of this site, or at least the tenant farming era history of the site, and so that is something that will be continued to be explored during the master planning process as well, especially as we are thinking about historic interpretation on this site and how to acknowledge the history of this land while also providing park space for folks to enjoy. So now I'm going to change gears again, talk about the community advisory group for this park. So again, a lot of you are familiar at this point, but community advisory groups, or CAGs, are something that we often use for major park projects, particularly new developments or substantial redevelopments. So master planning projects like this pretty much always are going to have a CAG. They're typically groups of about 15 people that live either in the area of the park or have a vested interest in the park in some way. One of their big roles is to help facilitate that information sharing between the community and different community groups and the city of Raleigh. And they help guide our design process by using a consensus-based process, voting at key milestones and points in the planning process. So we have been working on this community advisory group for the last 2 months. Back in January, we opened the application, and we had that open for just over a month. During this time period, we went to Parks Committee at 2 different points. One to talk about the composition, the ideal composition of this community advisory group, and once for the Parks Committee members to review all of the applicants and select their recommended makeup. So here you see the 17 recommended members for the community advisory group. In this community advisory group, we are going to have 2 Parks Board representatives. One will be Bob Edgerton, and the second one you all will be discussing later tonight during the report of the Parks Committee. We also have a dedicated Historic Resources and Museum Advisory Board member, as well as 2 potential Raleigh Youth Council positions, which is an exciting way we're trying to be intentional about getting our youth and teens more involved in these processes. For our Parks Committee members, you'll notice this is a slight update to what you all had reviewed. We did receive some late information from one of the Raleigh Youth Council members, so have added a potential seat here, which we feel is the best choice to allow that flexibility since these are students so that they can help kind of share the responsibility of the seat in this role within the community advisory group.
Was there also a new addition of the Nightdale member, or was that?
So yes, so that is one that the Parks Committee reviewed and selected, but he lives within the vicinity of this park, but actually is a planner with the town of Nightdale, which will be a big boon to this project given that we are right on the border between Raleigh and Nightdale, helping to get that synergy between the 2 municipalities and helping us bring folks from Nightdale to this park as well since it's in such close proximity. So we feel this community advisory group does a really good job of representing a lot of different interests, a lot of different professional backgrounds, and folks that are really intimately involved in the community in the immediate vicinity of this park. So, next steps coming up. Looking at a high level at our project timeline, we are going to be kicking off our initial input phase in the next 2 months here, gathering information from folks about how they use parks, what they're hoping for in this area. That input will help inform our design alternatives, so potential layouts and concepts for this park space. That will be solidified down into one singular concept plan, which will then form the basis of the master plan and all associated documentation that we put together for this park. And then we are hoping to be returning to y'all for your first meeting of 2026 in January with the final master plan for adoption at that point. And of course, during this whole process, we'll be exercising our full, varied, and typical gamut of community engagement. We will have 8 different working community advisory group meetings. We will have public workshops and online surveys during each phase. We will be leveraging our social media and our community connectors to really spread the word about this project. So all of that will be involved throughout each phase of the project. And with that, the recommend before you guys tonight is that it is recommended that the Parks, Recreation, and Greenway Advisory Board approve the Forestville Road Park Situation Assessment, including the nomination of the Community Advisory Group as recommended by the Parks Committee. And I am happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Lauren. Before we get into questions, you guys saw that Lauren was showing the list of names of people that are in the CAG, and there was one blank. I was going to bring this up in Parks later, but it probably makes more sense for us to do this now so that we're voting on the full slate. As you guys saw, Bob has volunteered to be on the CAG. There's going to be 2 board members on there. So does anybody else want to be on this Forestville Road CAG? Ian is one volunteer. Anybody else?
Could I just ask a question about that?
Absolutely.
So I'm guessing that the thing that you handed out is showing in yellow the potential open.
That is correct. In the lighter text, some of those projects are well underway, so you won't need one.
So, pardon?
Yeah, it didn't print very well, but the lighter text, those projects are underway, so they're blank, so you don't need a nomination.
Need to do, okay.
Yeah, and these are generally at a later stage than where this project is. So the CAG is kind of an earlier
Got it, okay.
stage of development.
Because I'm interested in serving, but it seems like there are lots of possible places for me to do it, so.
Well, and there's no cap, so you can volunteer for a lot of
For
stuff.
all
So
of
you can
them.
volunteer for this and still
I
volunteer
don't
for
think
more.
that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you can see, I think I'm on maybe too many right now, but they're fun to be on. But for this CAG appointment, it's also going to be fun to be on. And as you saw from Lauren, there's a lot of historical elements. So it's kind of a unique park situation. And I was going to give a quick shout out because when this project first came in front of us, you saw on one of the earlier slides that this was a property owned by the Upchurch family. And as you guys know, we're in a building named after a member of the Upchurch family. And we had asked if there's a connection, and our very own Bob Edgerton did some research and found that there is a connection, that it's kind of a greater Upchurch family in this area. So there's kind of remote ties there. So I don't see any other volunteers, so Ian, it's yours. So, okay. So now imagine Ian's name on this slide. And before we vote on anything, are there any questions for Lauren? Beverly.
In looking at one of your earlier pictures, there seemed to be a lot of wetlands on a lot of creeks that seem to go through. Can you give us a picture of how much of this property is wetland? And also, can you touch on the background of how we acquired the property?
Yes. So it does look like there's a lot of water bodies on this site. It's actually not as pronounced as this map would make it seem. There is a main blue line stream that bisects the site that goes from the south to the north. Everything else that you see feeding into it is ephemeral or intermittent streams, so we actually don't have any floodplain on this site and no wetlands either. So a lot of opportunity, and the stream is really beautiful on this site as well. What was your second question, Beverly? I'm sorry.
How we acquired the property?
Oh, yes. So we acquired this property back in 2004, actually. So it's been in our portfolio for a while. It was part of the era where we were doing a lot of land banking particularly in the eastern part of the city. And now, as we're seeing the development pressure move further and further east, it's a time for us to be like, okay, let's use some of that land and let's provide some amenities. Great. Thank you.
If I can.
All right, Bob?
Actually, there's a lot of terrain rolling. There's a good bit of elevation change. It's not like some of the ones we have that are really challenging, but what happens with this property, we'll have to consider the elevations because it's rolling up and down.
And I bet there's a lot of granite.
There are rock outcrops and there are also upland seeps, so two unique micro communities on this property that are really cool.
All right, Kate?
Yeah, it looks like a really exciting project in parks, so thank you. I just had a question about, it was interesting to me that you're able and going to do this in-house. And also I was very intrigued by the developer giving the funding, and I wondered, is that usual? What was the transition so you felt like you could do it in-house?
Yeah, so because at this time, this is a little bit different in scope and scale than a lot of our bond projects that we've been doing recently, where we've been relying very heavily on external consultants because of the sheer volume of work we've been doing. At this time, we are only doing the master planning of this site. So although we have that $600,000 identified with the development agreement, that is not enough to move into full design and construction of the park. And so this is very much within the wheelhouse of the expertise of all the wonderful staff that we have here in Raleigh Parks. You know, we've got our licensed engineers, licensed landscape architects, licensed planners. And so it's able to help us move this project along more expeditiously and give us a unique challenge that we haven't gotten to, engage with as much recently. So yeah, that's kind of how that decision came to be.
And has this happened before where a developer has given this kind of money?
So yes and no. It's a regular part of our park planning team's work to review all redevelopments coming into the city. Often we are getting kind of in-kind conditions where developers are building connections to our Greenway network or different things like that that's more built infrastructure. This is one of the first instances where we have had a development agreement of this nature where it is just a lump sum contribution, which was very exciting for us because it opens up some new possibilities for us to replicate this kind of condition in the future.
Okay.
All right.
I would suspect Stephen would know that a lot of our future parks projects, due to escalating costs, are going to need more participation from multiple sources.
Yeah, you're spot on, Bob. Yeah, I would say that I'll give a lot of kudos to your former liaison council member Patton. Approached the department and was encouraging us to propose conditions that, knowing there's 1,800 units, could be 5,000 people around that park in the next 5 years, and she helped negotiate it with us.
Any other questions? Kara?
How many people applied to be on the CAG?
I believe we ended up with 42 applicants. We had a couple that weren't quite complete applications, so 42 complete ones, which is really good in an area like this that's really at the edges of the city of Raleigh, and is a piece of property that is relatively unknown, so we're really happy with that turnout. And there's a lot of enthusiasm already from the community, so we're excited to get started.
Good. And you mentioned enslaved persons, tenant farmers. Do we know if there's any descendants of people from this property who we can engage with for the project?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thus far, we've completed a pre-development assessment for this property in addition to the situation assessment. Thus far, we have not identified any descendants of tenant farmers or enslaved persons. We do have some historical narratives, like the Works Progress Administration slave narratives, so we have some names, but as of yet, no, we have not identified any descendants. However, we do have made contact with some descendants of the Greater Upchurch family, one of which is a proposed member of this community advisory group. He's been a great support. He was one of the last people who lived and recreated on this land before it passed out of the Montague and Upchurch family. And he's been a really great advocate and is encouraging us to really lean into honoring the legacy of the enslaved people who occupied this land and away from the emphasis on the Upchurch family. So.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Bob.
At the Parks Committee meeting, we discussed the number of applicants for the thing, and I was particularly impressed reading through the background of the people who applied, and that knowing we're only going to have 17 or 18 or what, virtually all of those people said they wanted to become more involved in the future. So I think they'll be saving that information, and although not designated as part of the CAG, will be part of the community that you reach out to bring in, to not lose contact with people who want to become more involved.
Yeah, we've got all of them on our mailing list, and all of our community advisory group meetings will be open to the public. They're welcome to come, get as involved as they want to be. We'll be having public site visits as well, in addition to all of our workshops and online surveys and all that stuff. So lots of opportunities for folks to be involved, and we've been really pleased to see the amount of momentum that this project already has.
All right. Any other questions for Lauren? Ian?
I'm not sure if this is a Lauren or a Stephen question. Just for context, like how many parks and or properties have we gone through schematic design and master plans and are waiting on funding to actually implement? As a current right now, is there a backlog?
You mean undeveloped properties?
Yeah.
I don't have that number. In this area, this is one of 3. Okay. So it's ironic, that's my 20th year with the city. We bought these properties, and I never thought in my career that we would be planning and building them, and now we are. You can see the 1,800 units. There's one around the corner called the Watkins Road. The Watkins family lives there. And then Hodges Mill Creek. So I know 3 in that area, Pearl Road. We could get you a pretty quick number, but there's a handful. We're hoping to look at rebooting our land acquisition program because of the development rush. Some of these were really strategic, and we want to get back to going on the edges and acquiring again.
So in the case of this project, I know that we have to do the preliminary work up front and then to price it to get funding. Yep. But that's where I'm asking, like, are there any other projects that have gone through that part, the preliminary work is done, and now we're waiting for funding to build?
Actually, this board recommended Aaronsbrook, and that was the one that we tabled that master plan, and we knew the funding range, so that's the only other one.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Now, there are other phases of other parks to be complete, but there was no plan shelved.
Okay, cool, thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Lauren before we vote on the recommendation? No? Okay. The recommendation made by staff is that we approve the situation assessment, which includes the community advisory group that you guys saw on the screen. Is there a motion?
So moved.
All right, a lot of motions. Any seconds? Second. All right, all those in favor of the situation assessment, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, it passes. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have Troy Burton, who's going to present to us the Top Green Community Center proposed renaming project.
Hey,
Troy.
good evening, everyone. How are you? Good. You may be asking why you're seeing me again. It's because you didn't meet last month. You were sledding with Kate over at Dix Hill, apparently. But we first came to you in November with a recommendation to consider a name change from John P. Top Green Center to the John P. Top Green African American Cultural Park for the campus, and then the John P. Top Green African American Center for the buildings themselves. We then, in January, had a public comment review period, went up on the website with the proposed changes. February was when you were slated to have your action on the said recommendation, and so we're here tonight to have you consider that action. And staff, again, is recommending that you set that name change in motion that actually will go to council. Sorry, I had a little bit of a brain fart there. And in any event, you would have the John P. Top Green African American Cultural Park and John P. Top Green African American Cultural Center as a recommended action from tonight to proceed.
All right, thank you, Troy. Anybody have any questions for Troy before we take a vote?
So moved.
Okay. No questions, and Kate has moved that we send this to council. Is there a second? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, that passes as well.
Right? Thank you.
Moving right along. Thank you, Troy. All right, next is our director's report.
All right, good evening, everybody. As you can see, a lot of great work going on. In your report, which is online, I do not have any paper copies. One thing is Giovanna has a sick family member, so send her a note of support. And she did send her regards and said she's sorry to miss the meeting. Some council actions recently, the last couple of months. One thing, I have a new boss, and he actually asked me about this contract because it's a pretty large one. I think people underestimate the number of officials we use across the park system, so we actually have a third-party service that books them for us. And the council approved the contract for 3 different companies to do that at their meeting in February. Kate talked about the 10-year plan was presented to council, and they approved that. One of the things that was a big update to the city council was the Bringing Home Our Neighbors program. So Charles and I are key collaborators with Housing in Neighborhoods and the Continuum of Care to house individuals across Raleigh. And last month, the encampment at Dix Park was closed, and the city was able to house about 40 individuals out of that encampment. It was the largest encampment in the city. Our responsibility in this process is to identify the locations of encampments, share them with the Continuum of Care and Housing. Once they get the individuals housed, then we are responsible for cleanup. But in this instance, it was focused, the pilot project was focused on the encampment at Dix Park. So if you are driving past Healing Transitions, the encampment has been there for close to 2 years. We are actually going to limb up some vegetation, remove the invasive species that have been in there, and then we're going to put a street light there so it's more highly visible. So that presentation was to council.
Excuse me,
yes.
Stephen, did you all also deal with the encampment along Rocky Branch? Because I was along there today and I saw no evidence of...
Yep. So each time we locate one, we contact the Acorns unit, which is within the police department, and then they work with all the nonprofits with the goal of getting those individuals into stable housing. So that's good to hear. I did not know that. Yep. And that one has been active on and off for quite a long time. Let's see. We got a grant from our National Recreation and Park Association to work with coaches across our park system. And congratulations, the first BOM project has been bid and will go to construction this summer. The Leesville Road and the Strickland Road neighborhood improvement projects that you all approved are actually bid, and the bid awards went to council last week. So they'll go into construction this summer. You do have a number of open seats, and the council has received your list. They are going to vote on them at their next meeting. They did add one individual to the list. His name is Jack Hilton, and he was nominated by council member Jonathan Melton Lambert. So potentially you'll have 3 new board members next month. Other things in motion, we had 4 truckloads of plants delivered to the Dix Chapel. There has been a private donor to restore and improve the gardens around the chapel. Charles's team has this great campaign. It is Low Mow Spring, so we are strategically looking at more locations around the park system that we're going to be like, nope, we're not going to mow you this season to increase habitat, Bee City, wildflowers, and our wildflower initiatives has gone in the ground. So we'll say in 60 days, you'll start to see different color across the Greenways system. We've made a number of boardwalk repairs and asphalt replacements across the park system. Thanks to Charles's crew for getting the location that was burned along the Greenway system repaired as fast as possible. It was Jokingly, people were like, well, just let me go over there and fix it myself. And I was like, if you can fix it to hold an ambulance on it, go ahead. And then people are like, oh, my carpentry skills are not there. We have a cool project that's underway that is funded and being led by the Wildlife Resource Commission. So we're going to have a new boat launch along the Neuse River on the Thornton Road property. So it's a little bit northern part, fully funded by the North Carolina Wildlife Resource Commission. And there's some pictures in your handouts. And then finally, just to wrap up, it is spring, so that means sports are back in. Our youth registrations are up significantly, thanks to our team for getting out there and bringing back up. Our numbers are higher than pre-pandemic level, which is great. We're celebrating Heart Month. You heard about the Wake Games. If you want to volunteer, Allie shared the information and the link that is in here. We recently had a job recruitment for our camps. We actually give away 2 tickets to Dreamville, and we call it Welcome to Your Dream Job. So we have try to encourage people to come work for us. We bait them with some Dreamville tickets. We're celebrating World Water Day. The Gibson Play Plaza, we're targeting June, so Kate talked a little bit about that. We have a really great campaign in our marketing and communications staff. Go online and look at, it's called Sights and Sounds of the Raleigh Park System. They're 15-second clips, all the way from squeaky sneakers in a basketball court to we filmed a box turtle walking through the woods and you can hear it on the leaves. It's just a way to kind of feel and hear the sights and the sounds of Raleigh Parks. And we have a great collaboration with the Raleigh Garden Club. They're going to curate something over at Troy's City Museum. It is their 100th anniversary. So they're also going to fund a project within the park system. And there is a link to all the zoning-related cases that are going on. I'm adding in here the State of the City address. This was announced after we put this together. Is March 26th at CAM. So Mayor Cowell will talk about the state of the city and all the things going on. So that is March 26th. And then I believe Chris will talk a little bit about the proposed retreat in May. And that's all I have.
Okay. Any questions for Stephen? Kate?
I don't have a question, but I went today to the City of Raleigh Museum to hear Erica Winston give a talk about talk about the Raleigh Garden Club. And first of all, she's just amazing, and the research she has done is incredible, and the connection with parks is.
Gives you goosebumps when you're.
Oh, absolutely.
Oops, sorry, Mike. Yeah, I was invited with Neil to their lunch. I think we might have been the only 2 males, and by far young, but I was awestruck on the impact of the Raleigh Garden Club on our park system.
So that opening of the exhibit, just quickly, it's Friday, it's first Friday, April 4th, and you're all invited, and it's at Core Museum.
Yeah.
And Erica has a great PowerPoint presentation that talks about a lot of that history.
Yeah, so she was doing one really focused more on women leaders today.
Sure.
But the reason I went was because one of the Raleigh gardeners, Brian Best, told me, I just heard her, she was so amazing. And I'm so excited to hear that they're thinking about some project. One thing that really hit me was I thought I knew a lot about Hymettus Woods, but I didn't know. And their connection with that park, it's really amazing, and it needs some love. So they clearly have a whole lot of ideas, but wonderful. And if you have a chance to go, definitely do it. Yeah.
I'll circulate a reminder. I'm writing down things that Giovanna usually writes down. So.
All right. Other questions, Steve?
Just a quick question. I noticed in your report you had that great, and it had been issued earlier about the website traffic for parks. Like, you guys knock it out of the park. Everybody goes there to look for information. One suggestion I had, and this is just based on conversations in our neighborhood, when there are projects, and we have one going on now, when there's projects that are run by different groups, but it's happening in the park, so like, say, Stormwater is doing something, or, you know, it's not a park project, it's another group's project, they're generally not acknowledged on the park site. And one of the things that, you know, it's just common to people not knowing the city organization. If I go to a park and somebody's digging a hole, I think it's a park project. And since the park sites are really popular, I think it would be great to make a habit of putting something on the park site, even when someone else is doing a project, that goes to that project site. Because, you know, the one thing I did notice is Stormwater didn't have a really big web traffic thing going on there. So it was just a suggestion, because I'm sure it happens in other places where other groups are doing projects within park property.
That is a great suggestion, and I'll note it to our web team, especially we're updating the IT department and communications department's going to update the website, and some things that Beverly has talked about, we shared with them in a one-to-one, because we often hear, like, another example would be water utility, right? They're like, what are you doing to the Greenway? Well, like, that's a water utility project. So a way in which we can cross-pollinate these, I'll be sure to carry forward.
Great, thank you.
Questions over here? Oh, Beverly?
To take that, and I think that's such an important point, and to broaden it a little bit, sometimes people don't even go to the website, but they're at the park and they're wondering, how is this funded? Where is this coming from? And so I just am such a believer in signage, good signage. You'll hear more.
All right. Any other questions for Stephen for the director's report? Nope. Okay. Thank you, Stephen. All right. That brings us to standing committee reports. I'll go first with Parks Committee really quick. We knocked out the CAG representative, so thanks, everyone. The second question to the group, some of the members of the Parks Committee had expressed interest in doing a site visit to Forestville. So you guys saw the map and heard all the information from Lauren. But there was interest in kind of going on site and taking a look at that. So wanted to poll the board to see who else was interested in joining that. And then once we have kind of a rough show of hands, Kate, and yeah, it looks like so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so several people. So we've got about 7 or 8 people that are interested in that. Ken, I will touch base with you afterwards, and we can try to coordinate dates for that. Okay. For those of you guys that could not hear Mr. Hissler at home, we're going to talk about that at our April committee meeting. Okay, so that's it for Parks. And then Greenway Committee.
Had a few items in our last meeting. We talked about a couple items that we've approached in here before from a visitor that we had. We talked about the collapsible bollards that were down, and we talked about drainage on Raleigh Boulevard area. Had a pretty robust conversations there. We talked about our scavenger hunt that's formed with Frog, Friends of Raleigh Greenway, and it is available as of tomorrow. If you haven't followed us, you can find us on our website, friendsoftheRaleighGreenway.org. We had a presentation on Rocky Branch that was a little more detailed than we saw today on Dix, and we had a presentation from RFP volunteer program, and we got a little information on that. She's going to return back. We gave her some feedback that was a little constructive to try and build that program a little more strongly, and she's going to come back and report back to us.
Okay. Any questions for the Greenway Committee? Beverly?
Well, I just want to add, this is not really to the committee, but tied to the RPD issue, is I think this board has asked RPD to come and talk about what their patrolling efforts are. And we have not heard that in a long, long, long time. And I think it's a really important issue to come to this board. And specifically, tied to Greenways, yeah, they have these little sort of, they're more than e-bikes, they're kind of scooters that they're on. But I've heard you say that they were assigned to work for the entire department, both Parks and Greenways. And I question that concept because all of our park facilities are accessible to the general RPD. Streets take them to any community center or anything, whereas our greenways are not accessible to patrol cars. And so I hope that in the future that you and others with RPD will think about having the specifically assigned officers focus on greenway safety rather than both, because of the differentiation that exists in accessibility. So,
I can tell you that in our southwest area, we've had Raleigh Police Department tell us about assets they actually have now that are dedicated to the greenway areas, and it should be increasing in the coming months. And also, I think there's some good practices that users can have. I mean, you don't need to go somewhere by yourself at the wrong time with headphones on. I mean, so there are things that users can do if they're thinking through.
women have been being told that for generations.
Well, guess what? I was a runner at one time, and I had to remember it. I mean, but good practice and good performance can actually make it easier for them.
All right. It would be nice if we could get a presentation from RPD and they could kind of go over plans and maybe also take some ideas from the board.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Ian? Just to add to Jeff's comment, the RPD volunteer program presented at the last meeting, and just wanted to make sure that we're well publicizing that, because they're going for 100 volunteers and they have about 50. I don't know if we can do more ads on our social media, try and get those numbers up.
All right. Seeing no other questions, let's move over.
One other.
Oh, sorry, go
We're
ahead.
still
Doug.
on Greenway. I'm still available to look at Greenway sites that offer some real good possibilities for beautification involving adjacent property. Just send me an email.
Okay. We'll send that to Greenway. And Fred Fletcher Committee. This is exciting.
This is exciting. Thank you all so much. I'm happy to report that everybody has signed up. So we have a full roster and all of the awardees have accepted. So now we're asking that you know that you will be getting your formal invitation on April 4th. So you need to RSVP by April 28th. So that way that can help Mary and everybody be really clear on how many people to expect. We're super excited about it being at the chapel on site instead of having to do it at, I was going to say Civic Center, what is it now? Martin Marietta. I want to make sure I get that right. And the ceremony is May the 22nd. So we're asking that you all be there about 5:30. Some of the changes will be the fact that we will be able to have our meet and greet and hors d'oeuvres ahead of time instead of after. And we're also going to have some pretty clever seating. So some of the teacher kind of suggestions were having the families be able to sit with the awardees and do those things in a little bit more order, because the stage is a little different at Dick's, in the chapel, as opposed to, so we're really excited about some of those changes that will help the program move along, and also really with the visibility, because it's a little bit more intimate. And there'll be some live music and some different things. So please, your awardees are excited, and you all have till, what did Mary tell me? Make sure, April 22nd. If you have problems contacting them, just let me know. I will send everyone an email with this information, and even who you're supposed to contact, the emails and the letters, so you don't have to go through that whole form, but I will send you a link to the whole form as well. So thank you all so much. Yes, ma'am.
Does the recipient know who's going to be contacting, so that way it's not a surprise?
No, the recipient doesn't know who's going to contact them. They just know someone is going to contact them. So if you have an issue, just let us know, and then we'll figure out if there's some other number we need to provide.
Since I volunteered for a teenager, am I going to get the parent or the person?
You know, I usually do the teen, and so I talk to the parent first and then get that phone number. So I can make sure that you have what you need.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much.
That's really cool that there's going to be live music this year. That's something we haven't seen.
And and our headshot. So, you know.
Okay. Oh, that's right.
Dress
Yeah,
to
every year we
impress.
do
Yes.
headshots. It's a cool time that we get group photos taken. So
What happened to those last year?
What was that?
Did we ever get those last year?
I'm not sure. Did Giovanna send them to you?
Okay, we may not have last year. I know I've seen them in the past, but
Yeah, she sent the link.
Okay, that's what I
So we'll
thought.
just make sure that that's available.
Okay.
You know, kind of like, we'll make sure that all of them are available. So as long as we've been on board, that would be nice. Thank you.
other questions for Fred Fletcher Committee? Okay, thank you, April. And SWAT, Kate.
Well, first of all, thanks to Steve. Sorry. Eventually, I will learn this. First of all, I wanted to thank Steve Breckbale for joining the committee. It's really great to have him. So a few things to report. One, as you know, the City Council back in July or so asked SWAT to help oversee creation of a plan to protect and expand tree canopy on city-owned land and to encourage residents to do more. And so one thing that really has helped us is that the planning department has also been working on the comprehensive plan, and they decided that trees were something they wanted to look into. So they had 2 meetings this month public meetings where they invited broadly for folks to come out and learn more and share their ideas about trees. And the first one, they had a keynote speaker who works for Trees. He's the executive director of Trees Atlanta. He was excellent. I mean, I think everybody I talked to who was there just felt like they learned so much, and he was really inspiring. The second meeting, that one was held at Durant and at the Campbell Lodge, and then the second one was held at Dix Park. And our own Zach Manor was one of the big speakers talking about what the city is doing, and then we got input from people. The second, unfortunately, it was about 50 people for the first one, but the second one was really nice turnout, and so that was exciting, and to get that sort of input from people. And now that that has happened, our next meeting, which is on April 2nd, is really going to be the beginning of the planning process. So the real meat of getting to work is really going to start April 2nd, and all of you are welcome to come if you're interested. I also wanted to say that this will be the 4th annual year of the Tree of the Year contest, and it will kick off on April 2nd. That's when you'll have 2 weeks to nominate your tree. And then you'll have 1 week to contact everyone you know, wherever they live, whatever, just try and get them to vote for your tree. And the winner will be announced at Arbor Day, Earth Day, which I think is April 25th or something like that, yeah. And we've done a lot to try and advertise it this year, trying to get it out to nonprofit organizations, and so we're really hoping to see a lot of new nominations. And last year we had 2 competing trees, so maybe there will be even more that are like really back and forth. You never know who's going to win. So the last thing I wanted to just mention was some stuff that I've been hearing about, some of the invasive removal projects that the City Parks is doing that just are making real progress. You may remember that the City Council put in the budget using $500,000 over 2 years for invasive removal in key key parks. And the focus has really been on some of the destination parks and some of the nature preserves to start. And those contracts have been out, and I think those projects seem to be going along well. We also had a really interesting donation of first a resident near Fallon Park, and then the Garden Club of Fallon Park putting in funding to help to the city so that they could hire a contractor to remove. And there's also been this, city staff has organized some volunteer work days there that have been great. And I just keep hearing people who are really excited about that. It's been really great. And then there's a proposed pilot project to use volunteers more systematically, and I understand that the city attorney has signed off on that, and so things will be moving along on that. So it's exciting to see this progress. So thank you.
That's awesome. That's a lot of really great stuff. That is it for standing committees. That brings us to our liaison reports. No report from Arts Commission. Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission.
Yes. So, let's see, there are some interesting upcoming projects where the city is testing some new, instead of using the plastic ballards for their cycle tracks, they are going to try a triangular hard rubber. They're going to do that on Industrial Drive, which I have to say doesn't make a lot of sense because there's not high traffic speeding by on Industrial Drive. It's only 2 blocks long, and there's not a lot of cycle use there. So, but those were the reasons that the staff thought it was a good place to test it. So, they have their reasons. There are some new cycle track projects that are tied to Greenway projects, and that is on Quail Hollow Drive. There's going to be a new cycle track developed there, and between Hardimont and Millbrook, and this is part of the Big Branch Greenway, which interestingly I had asked at a Greenway committee meeting a couple of weeks ago, are we going to just do the Big Branch Greenway the way we did Walnut Creek on Little John, stick a post in the ground and call it a greenway? But I hadn't gotten an answer to that, but apparently from Raleigh Transportation, this part of it is going to be different and wider and have a barricade for cyclists using the Big Branch Greenway. I will continue to advocate that we need to do the same thing on Little John because that's one of our top greenways. But the other parts of that cycle track are in design, and this will happen. But the bridge is not funded, so that's still a big part of that Big Branch Greenway. There are a bunch of upcoming sidewalk projects. In fact, they have 31 active sidewalk projects and 17 traffic calming. So they have a new, speaking of young people on the situation assessment and on this CAG, they have a new member of the BPAC who is still a student at NC State. And so I think that I would advocate that this board look at youth because he brought a lot of great questions and energy to that. So.
All right. Any questions and comments, Bob?
At the meeting previous to the last one, there was a discussion at BPAC about increasing the emphasis on pedestrians in the actions they look at, and to go so far as having someone join the board who is a non-driver. Now, I don't know where you find this person, but they actually discussed that and trying to look at pedestrian safety and interaction between scooters and all the places that go. That's something they're looking at to increase pedestrian safety. And there are a number of intersections that are part of their agenda that are considered dangerous intersections that things need to take place as far as lights, crossing, marking, a multitude of things. So stay tuned. You'll see more of that in the future at BPAC.
What's the name of the initiative to reach a target of 0 pedestrian deaths?
Vision Zero, and then the city has also been recently holding meetings called SS for All, Safe Streets for All.
Those are good, both great, catchy names. Any other questions or comments about BPAC?
Quick one on the Green Street. Is that basically what was originally put in the St. Albans plan that they're addressing? And do you know who has that project?
Well, that was the interesting thing. Transportation has the project, not Parks, even though it's along a greenway. And it is, I don't know whether it's what was put in the St. Albans plan, but it's between Hardimont and Millbrook.
Yeah, that was the area that was designated, so, okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Historic Cemeteries Advisory Board. No report from Mr. Craig. Okay. Next is Dick's leadership, and I was really just going to say a bunch of stuff that Kate said a lot better than I did, so I'm going to skip my report as well. Now we have a special report on the Raleigh Environmental Awards jury from Doug Johnson.
Well, I didn't realize I was
You-
doing
you-
this.
yeah.
Microphone.
Well, I can tell you that-
Just your microphone.
I am not prepared for this, but I will tell you what I recall. They had a very in-depth process for finding the members who were the candidates and how to prioritize them, and made decisions that are not yet public for some reason. So that's about all I know.
You're not going to give us a sneak preview of the winners?
Pardon me?
You're not going to give us a sneak preview of the winners?
Well, I was hoping they would have it open now because I want to talk to a couple of them, but I really don't know what their protocol is.
No, that's
They
okay.
seem
Yeah,
to-
we don't want to get you in
They
trouble.
seemed to first
but-
wonder who the hell I was, and I explained that, and then they really were unsure. But I think we were able to make some contributions to the sense of what kind of environmental context we want to operate in. But I would recommend that the next person is, who volunteers to do this figure out some better way than I did to prepare for it, because I think it's a very important thing. One of the people that I supported, one of the projects I supported, is a person you might not expect to be an awardee. And they had a real good discussion about why they were there. So at that point, I was almost in the same league as they were in terms of everyone has an opinion. But I think they developed a broader sense of what they were supposed to do because of the input from our group. And I think it's an important thing for us to have people, maybe more than one if they'd let them attend and be part of the process.
All right. Thank you, Doug. All right. Next ad hoc committee report is the work plan committee. So just kind of an overview. Some of you guys have been through this several times before, and some of you are newer. Every year, the board puts together a work plan. The work plan kind of guides the work that we do as a board. It is created by us, but it's presented to City Council. City Council can approve it and pass it. They can tear it up and send it back to us and tell us to redo it. So far, that hasn't happened. And we usually do this. We present it usually in June. And so this is about the time that we start formulating that work plan. So one thing that we've done in the past couple of years is create an actual work plan ad hoc committee. It's just a subset of the folks that are sitting up here to help us draft that work plan. Generally, what we do is we work off the previous year's plan and we just see what are we still working on. We're still working on bond projects. Those are going to stay in. What are some new things that we want to work in? I just want to kind of throw this back to something that Bob said earlier tonight. He mentioned whenever we have these CAGs and people apply, we get 30 or 40 people apply for maybe 10 or 15 positions. What do we do with those extra people that are really eager to volunteer their time? That might be another idea that we work on. How do we incorporate that into the work plan? How do we, as a board, kind of, I guess, accelerate or what's the word I'm looking for? Expand our voice by getting that outreach to people that are already kind of expressing an interest to kind of take part. So just an idea, but April.
I still want us to remember about the conversation we keep having about how to revise and clarify what that expectation is. We keep talking about that, but I hope that will go in the work plan.
Yeah, I think, April, what she's talking about, when you come into the CAG role, what is the expectation of you? So
people will understand, because a lot of times we hear about the people applying and then they don't finish the application. There's an understanding that it's long, and we understand that, but I still feel like it's clear. No, I'm not going to say feel, because that's an opinion. It is very clear that it is not clear what all of the expectations are, how long it is, what all is involved, because a lot of times you're going to get some of the same people who already understand. So if you're talking about different voices, just like the young lady talked about, if you're not computer savvy, if you really want the true representation, then we really need to clarify what that looks like so that so you can get the youth involved or disenfranchise people or whatever that buzzword is. But until you clarify what the expectations are, you're going to continue to get applications that aren't finished and maybe miss some amazing people who could represent.
Yep, that's absolutely right. And that's just another example of something that wasn't in the work plan last year, but probably should be next year. So what I'm going to say next is taking volunteers for the work plan. If you were on the work plan committee last year, would love to have you back. There's not really a cap on how big the committee needs to be. It should be not bigger than
Less than 8, so we don't have to.
Yeah, and you guys have heard
make
me,
a
you
public
guys saw
meeting.
that in my email. The less than 8 rule is because 8 is over half of the board because we theoretically have 15 members, even though right now we have 13. So 8 makes sure that we don't have the board because technically we would have a quorum with 8 people. So as long as we're 7 or less. But the work plan committee last year was less than 7. So there's room for additional people. Volunteers right now. I'll take some right now. You guys can also reach out to me afterwards, but just a show of hands, anybody interested in joining that? Okay. I
If
see
you have
several.
If 5's the limit, I'm fine with being 6. But, because I think the last year's group, at least in my case, did a great job with the idea I had for a work plan. And when I read it, I said, gee, I wish I could have figured that out. So I'm thinking maybe it would have been helpful if I'd be on this year's to be a better participant. But I really think a small number apparently works really well.
Yeah, and
at
so
least
far I
from my
got
perspective.
Yeah, thank you, Doug. I agree. And I got you, I got Carrie, I got Kate, I got Ian. Anybody I missed that threw their hand up just now? No? Okay. And again, if you don't want to raise your hand in front of everybody, but you want to email me, please feel free. But you guys can see some of the bullets that were in the agenda tonight. We are trying to put this ad hoc committee together as soon as possible. We're going to start working on rough drafts and presenting it, and the goal really is to be able to present the work plan to the board by our May meeting. So today's March, next month is April, then May, so it's moving pretty quickly so that we can get this in front of council by June. July.
July 1st, yeah, but we have to submit the stuff to the manager's office in June. That's why it's backed up a little bit.
I'm going to pretend I was thinking about the submission date in June. Yeah, so that's coming up, and that's all I'll say about that for now. Historic Resources and Museum Advisory Board.
Couple dates. City Raleigh Museum has their baseball exhibit opening on April the 24th. Lotta Park's grand opening is April the 20th, 5 p.m. Did I have that right? You don't know? I think that's right. Troy knows.
Jeff, you may be looking at an old report.
It's 3 weeks ago. It's fuzzy for all of us. And RFQ for Moore Square food vendor is going back out.
I think you're looking at your old notes.
Yes. So, but to that point, the new food vendor at Moore Square opens Lucky Tree Cafe on April the 4th.
Gluten-free.
Yes. And they will be serving mead, among other things. So if you want to get your fermented honey on, come to Lucky Tree on Friday, April 4th.
Is that the same Lucky Tree that has another location on Hillsborough?
Yes,
Oh,
the two sisters. Awesome. Yep, that's right.
Grab my wrong notes.
I was like, that is open.
Yeah. It's been a long day.
Be sure to vote in November.
Propane trolley going into service on Saturday. The e-trolley has been delivered, but we need a charger, and that's being installed, a Type 3 charger. Moore Square Music Garden dedication is May 17th. Lucky Tree opening is April the 4th. Hope House is closing for renovations. And Pullen Park has got an E-train coming this summer, and the bocce ball court is being finished.
All right. Any questions for Historic Resources? Okay. Oh, go ahead.
Pullen Park is open till 8 p.m. this Friday for the first time since 2018. So
We are expanding the hours at Pullen Park into the evening.
Is that a one-time thing, or is that going to be
That is
going
moving
forward?
forward.
Okay.
It's been several years since we reduced hours.
Every Friday or every night or?
Summer hours, we're going to move to 8 p.m.
And what does that mean for availability of carousel, train, et cetera?
More. So prior to COVID, we had summer hours and winter hours. So we changed that seasonally, 10 to 6, 10 to 8. Now we're going back to that model. So these will be, for your old schoolers, these are now the summer hours at Pullen Park.
Oh, my goodness.
Will that apply to Chavis too with the carousel?
That's a good question. That's, there you go.
Oh, there you go.
Open till 9.
Wow.
And it's operational? Chavis? I have never been there when it was open.
Yeah.
And I've been there a dozen times.
You just have to go in and you can do it.
Oh.
I'm not going to quote, I know the exact hours of operation for Chavis Carousel, but it is open daily after we had a few issues operationally. So we will make sure with the follow-up notes that you guys have the operating schedule. And if I hurry, I may get them to Stephen before your meeting ends.
We got a little while to go. You got some time. All right. On that note, we will try to speed through this. I'm going to kind of switch the order of a few things. The PRGAB nominating ad hoc committee, as Stephen mentioned, we came up with a few names, the recommendations. Most of you guys got the emails from me that explained the situation. We got those names in front of City Council, and apparently they're going to vote on those soon. So thank you for checking your email and cooperating on that. That's generally not the preferred method. Obviously, we want the board to be able to vote on the recommendations from the ad hoc committee. But if you guys see things going on with the ad hoc committee, the nominating committee, that you feel could improve, there's definitely room for improvement. This was kind of a new project. It came up in last year's work plan. We hadn't done it before. So if you have suggestions on how we can improve that process going forward, that's certainly things that we can incorporate into this upcoming work plan. So bond community engagement liaison reports. Does anybody have a report from a meeting that you attended recently?
Not attended recently, but Sertoma has the next open house on a week from today, 4 to 7, and I think it's the last open house before they move into design.
Okay. Which brings me to something I was going to bring up in chair reports, chair remarks, but you guys got this nice little packet in front of you, and it is a list of engagement roles. You guys have seen this in the past. Giovannia has set this up, and she's emailed it and passed it out, but you can see a lot of yellow blocks on here. Yellow, obviously, is blank. It means that there's room for you to volunteer for it. Really, for folks that haven't done this before, for the folks that have, it's a lot of fun. It's not a very heavy lift. These groups don't meet very frequently, but it's basically a chance to kind of huddle with. It's similar to the CAG that we've been talking about. You're interacting with other community members, but obviously you're also the board liaison, so you are sort of the expert in the room. You know a lot more based on these presentations and from interacting with staff on how projects move forward, what some of the factors are that are important. But it's really just a good chance for you to get involved in bond projects as they're rolled out. So I won't put anybody on the spot here. I will say that Steve emailed me and volunteered for the Big Branch Greenway connector vacancy. So Steve, I've already penciled you in on my report. But other folks, if you guys see roles that you want to volunteer for, email me. You can volunteer here and now if you have it, but I know that you may still be looking over this, or you may have been listening to the presentations and not reading this. Try to get back to me or to Giovannia or Stephen if there's something that interests you. And if there's something that interests you and it's filled, still express some interest, because, you know, we originally signed up for these probably back in 2022 or early 2023. So folks have been in some of these roles for a really long time. I'm sure folks are willing to give up roles that they've been in for a really long time if there's something that really calls out to you, if it's in your neighborhood, if it's somewhere where you go with your kids or your friends. So just, I would look at the entire thing, not just the yellow spots, and just what speaks to you. There's not a cap on how many of these you can volunteer for. I would take it easy. I wouldn't sign up for every single one, but you know, 4 or 5 isn't unmanageable considering like how infrequently these groups meet. So, any questions, Kara? Oh, sorry.
Chris?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Beverly.
Well, I in one of the yellow spots, and because as I served on the Neuse River Park, and given how many citizens were originally appointed to that CAG who did not stay as part of that CAG, as I roll off of the Parks Board wearing that hat, since I did attend so many meetings for that, I would like to be considered as a citizen member of that CAG rather than a PRGAB.
I'm sorry, ma'am. You missed public comment at the beginning of this meeting. That's no, yeah, we'll definitely factor that in. And one of the things that we've been talking about with CAGs is trying to kind of come up with basically what April was talking about, but not just at the nomination or application point, but also throughout the process so that we can figure out how do we fill vacancies so that we don't have problems that were similar to that issue.
You could vote as a board to appoint Beverly tonight to the CAG.
Okay.
If you
Do
would
I
like to.
do I have a motion for that?
Motion.
All right, the motion's been made. Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
You're on.
I had no idea.
See how
that was
quick
the-
government works?
I want to
And there's
vote
only a
for
few
that
of
too,
us?
Kenna.
I'll vote no.
All right. So,
Since I'm on the community committee for Dix, I'd like to volunteer for that one, and I believe
okay. Let's see. Dick's the phase 2 design one. Okay. Carrie and Bob.
I live right down the road from Smoky Hollow, would really like to be involved in that part.
Okay. Wow, these are filling up. You are up. Anybody else? What you want? Walnut Creek? Okay.
I literally don't.
April, you were up
My
for
husband
Walnut
will
Creek.
murder me.
I just sent you an email on that.
You sent me an email? Okay.
Sure, you use
I'll
the
check it out.
mics so that
Well,
Giovanna
is there
can
any
get
room
all
on
these.
Walnut Creek
Yeah.
for-
I'll email these to Giovanni too. I'm kind of writing them in.
Let's work it out. Let
Yep.
me know.
Method, okay. I got, is that the next page? We are really rolling, guys. This is a very productive meeting. Okay, I got Kate. All right, any other volunteers? Again, you guys can email after or you can email during as Doug did, but we'll fill these up. I appreciate the show of enthusiasm, and we will move on so that we can get out of here relatively soon without a bathroom break. All right, chair report. Yeah, we're pretty much at the end. Okay, so I was going to mention this community engagement list. We did that. I was going to mention the retreat. So the retreat, you guys have seen some emails. The dates have been finalized. Thank you for filling out the poll. It's May 30th and 31st. The way that works is that on the 30th, it'll be kind of a half day, so we'll go from 2 to 6 o'clock. There's going to be dinner worked out in there. The next day, it's going to be 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., so a little bit longer. And the locations are TBD.
Yeah, TBD. We'll,
Yeah.
we'll get on them pretty quick.
But I will say that the last time we did one of these, one of the days we actually met at one of the active adults centers, the 5 Points one that you guys just heard about tonight, and that was a nice center. The other day was kind of more of a field trip where we bounced from park to park and center to center, including Top
Take the
Green.
Greenway Trail.
Yep.
Let's take the Greenway Trail with one of the bikes.
Yeah, that would be fun too. So any questions about the retreat? No? Okay. If you guys do have questions, there's kind of a rough draft of an agenda. I won't go through it right now, but if you have agenda ideas, we can still work those in. It's not set in stone, so if there's certain things that you feel like we don't talk about enough or you want to hear more about, this is a great opportunity because we have you trapped for 8 hours. So, okay. Work plan, we addressed committee assignments. So we just talked about committees. We had the standing committee reports. I've been mentioning this for a few weeks, but again, if you're interested in joining particular standing committees or you're interested in particular liaison roles, a lot of folks have been in the same liaison roles for a number of years now. So if you're interested in something, if you want to take historic resources from Jeff or Arts Commission from me, feel free to volunteer for that. Let me know if there's something that just calls out to you. If there's additional liaison roles, Ian's brought this up before as well, that you feel like we don't have and we should have it, there's the possibility that we can create more liaison roles. We're not going to create a ton, but there could be few more if there's something that would just help us operate better as a board. And then the last thing I was going to say as a chair is a thank you to one of our own. Last meeting for Beverly Clark. She has been on the board for 6 years. Until she gets replaced, she can stay here and keep asking questions. But
How short your meetings are going to be without me asking questions.
hey, I like to talk too, so they may not get shorter. But Beverly was chair for 2 years. She was vice chair for 2 years. She was on the board for 2 years before that. She's done a lot around Raleigh. I think she's going to keep doing a lot. We're not going to hear the last of her. Obviously, we just put her on as CAG. But Beverly, thank you for your leadership on this board and your contributions to the city.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, actually, I can't leave without saying a few things. Got my folder here. That is signs. I started on this board talking about the need for signage. We talked about it even as tonight as we think. I'll tell you all a little story. I have 2 children. My younger child is 36. He got his Eagle Scout when he was 16. His idea, because we were biking along the Greenway, was, and we came along Crabtree Creek, and we came to the end of the road right there at Hertford Drive, right near Root Elementary, and dragged our bikes up the hill and said, where does the bike go? Well, 20 years ago, we didn't have smartphones to guide us, and we turned around like so many people do today in Raleigh and went home. And when he was thinking of his Eagle project, he approached the city of Raleigh. I was not in the meeting, with Vic Lebsock, who has passed away, and I can't remember Cindy's name, the volunteer coordinator. Yeah, and she was lovely. But he wanted to do signs to show the connectivity. It's a genetic problem, obviously. We like to connect dots. And the city wouldn't let him do that. His Eagle project ended up being signs around Shelley Lake and Lake Johnson, which are loops. So you do not need the signs there that you need to connect other places. And so when I got on the board, I wrote a memo back in 2021 to the then director. And so I pulled it out as I've been going through things. And I started it out with why signage matters. And to me, what I said then still is appropriate, because a city-provided sign, it's a short paragraph, represents consistent community information. In a time when we get information from a wide variety of sources, seeing signage from the city indicates factual and useful information. A city sign creates community and points of common understanding. A sign reaches across economic boundaries, making the same information available regardless of one's access to technology. Clear, well-placed signage improves enjoyment and safety. I'm leaving this board after 6 years, and we still don't have signs. So we've had a consultant who's coming up with a signage package, but goodness gracious, please work on this together with staff. We have a wonderful staff, and they have made progress on this, but the city moves very slowly. And so I urge you all to continue to ask the questions that I have asked, because not everybody has one of these. Not everybody gets the same information. And so it's really important that that consistent community information come from the city of Raleigh. I think we have a fabulous park staff, from the programs we offer to the kinds of design that we do, to all the sports that we do. I'm so proud to have been a part of this board, but this is one thing that we have not gotten accomplished that I hope will happen in the years going forward. So thank you. to ride my hard horse right out the door.
All right. Any other questions or comments from board members before we adjourn? All right, with that, we adjourn.